this country. Why? Because now every state is a border state. And during our trip, we met with senior Border Patrol officials and officers and local sheriffs and ranchers and landowners and community leaders who are dealing with this crisis right there at the line. And we heard about how they're struggling to deal with the overwhelming surge of illegals who are flooding into our nation. And while the Senate and the White House were negotiating a so-called border security deal, one Border Patrol official compared the situation this way. He said, what we're being asked to do right now, this is a 33-year veteran of Border Patrol, a high-ranking official in the agency. He said, what we're being asked to do right now is administer an open fire hydrant. He said, please convey to our friends in Washington, we don't need more buckets. We need to turn off the flow. And his metaphor explains the situation perfectly. Since President Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas assumed office, there have been more than 7 million encounters with illegal aliens just at our southern border alone. 35 of our 50 states, including my home state of Louisiana, don't have a population that large. Yet that's how many people have been apprehended in just the past 3 years. Among those who've been apprehended on the southern border, between ports of entry, more than 300 individuals who are on our terror watch list. Terrorist watch list. The frightening question is, if so many terrorists were caught attempting to cross our borders, how many have entered undetected? We suspect it is a much higher number. And we know that there are at least 1.8 million gotaways that we know have escaped CBP. Who knows what dangerous plans those gotaways are making and what foreign adversaries they may be speaking with. Understand the situation at our border presents a clear and present danger to our national security, and it demands that it be addressed. Even officials within the executive branch are saying so. FBI Director Christopher Wray told the Homeland Security Committee just in November that these gotaways are a great concern for the agency and that all 56 of our joint terrorism task forces are trying to identify who these people are. While we don't know how many terrorists are inside our borders, it's an unknowable number. We do know that fentanyl is pouring into our communities like an open sewer. Right now, the leading cause of death in America, for Americans age 18 to 46, is fentanyl poison. And fentanyl seizures have increased 2.5 times since President Biden took office. That's just the seizures. The rest of it flows right in. But even as some of it is seized, we know much more is making its way into our schools, in our neighborhoods, and virtually every community in America. Just a quick snapshot of my state in New Orleans. In my home state, 95% of the drug overdoses in New Orleans are caused by fentanyl. 95%. We see that this poison is ripping families apart. Victoria McCauley from Baton Rouge was only 29 years old when she lost her life to fentanyl. She was buried by her parents, leaving behind her brother and her sister and her young son. Alex Stinson is another victim. Like Victoria, he was from Baton Rouge. And sadly, also like Victoria, he died from fentanyl poisoning before his 30th birthday, leaving behind a heartbroken mom and dad and sister. Near Slidell, Louisiana, just last week, a precious 2-year-old child was found dead in her home with fentanyl in her system. Moms and dads, brothers and grandmothers, all of us are losing loved ones to a drug that is being smuggled across the border in droves. It's a parent's worst nightmare, of course, burying a child. And sadly, because of our open border, more and more parents are having to experience that unspeakable tragedy. That leads the American people to ask a very important question. And it is one that we've been asking on this side of the aisle for a long, long time. Where in the world is Secretary Mayorkas on all of this? He is the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. It's his responsibility to prevent these harmful drugs from flowing into our country and to secure that border. And he's done nothing of the sort. As we've heard from Border Patrol agents, he's doing exactly the opposite. He's handicapping law enforcement. He's limiting their ability to catch narcotics like fentanyl. He's making it virtually impossible. They say in their own words, and they told us down on the border at Eagle Pass, it's impossible to do the job that they were trained to do. Perhaps the Secretary is busy identifying more people on the list that he can release on parolers in the United States before they're ever even expected to appear before a judge. Some of them are given a piece of paper that says 5%. It only happens if this is by design. It only happens if it's an orchestrated, intentional effort by the administration to do exactly that. And that is what the evidence shows. The alarming actions, and this is all public, everybody can go see this. The day he took office, the very first day that he walked into the Oval Office, President Biden revoked Executive Order 9844. You know what that did? It ended construction of the border wall that Congress had already paid for. Everybody's seen the images on TV, the materials out there rotting in the sun and the elements. Why? Because Joe Biden decided unilaterally he didn't want a wall. In February 2021, the administration stopped applying Title 42 expulsions to children and incentivized, by doing that, incentivized families to send unaccompanied children through Mexico under the watch of who? Cartels and traffickers. Since then, the administration has lost track. They admit to this number. They admit that they've lost track of more than 80,000 unaccompanied children somewhere in the U.S. Well, we were down there at Eagle Pass, at the Del Rio sector. We went through one of these processing centers. And what we saw down there was heartbreaking. It was infuriating. But you see these small children. They're unaccompanied minors. Some of them, of course, aren't even, they can't even speak the language. Just a little child that says Jane Doe or John Doe. What happens to them after that? Well, Border Patrol says, gosh, we don't know. Our job is just to process them here. Well, they're released, presumably into the hands of NGOs, non-governmental organizations, who are being refunded, by the way, by American taxpayers, who do something with the children and then they just disappear. Well, we know 80,000 of them are missing. We don't know where they are. Have they been put in? We can only guess. We know that some of these kids are being trafficked for free labor and being forced to do things that are too appalling for us to articulate on this floor. Everybody here knows that's happening. Everybody here knows that's happening. And we're not demanding the president stop it. He can. He has the power to do it. And I'll continue. In October 2021, the Biden administration revoked the migrant protection protocols that had been instituted under President Trump. That's the policy that we all know colloquially. Your Border Patrol officer told us on that trip to Eagle Pass that if the Biden administration, if President Biden, by the stroke of a pen, would issue an executive order today to just simply reinstate Remain in Mexico, they think that would stop the flow by 70%. Instructed the administration to reinstitute Remain in Mexico while the litigation was going on. You know what they did? They ignored it. The administration refused it. I can keep going. September 2022, the Biden administration reversed a 2019 DHS public charge rule. What was that about? They began granting entry to aliens who we know will be a burden to taxpayers to receive immigration benefits. This matters because it's one of many instances in which the Biden administration is actively incentivizing illegals to come to the United States. We have laid out the welcome mat. We told everybody around the world, come on, come on. You know what? The U.S. taxpayer will take care of it. You know how much it's costing you at home, the American people, all of our constituents? Billions and billions and billions of dollars to do what? To provide for people who are intentionally breaking our laws? Billions our laws. That's what our constituents are asking for, released right into the United States on what they call parole. They're coming over the border. Download the app, make an appointment, and the President of the United States will release you into a network of NGOs who will put you on a plane to the destination of your choice without any identification, by the way, while Americans are waiting in line to get through TSA. All on the dime of the American taxpayer. Ask yourself, is that right? Is that just? Is that good for America or anybody else involved? It's not. The open border combined with the incentives to come have produced a catastrophic year for our Border Patrol agents. In September 2023, U.S. Border Patrol reported more than 270,000 illegal encounters at the southern border in one single month. That was the largest ever up to that point. And guess what? That record was broken a couple months later because in December, this past December 2023, CBP recorded more than 302,000 encounters, almost double the population of my hometown, Shreveport, Louisiana, in just 1 month. 302,000 people just walked right into the country, and we saw it down there with our own 2 eyes. And most recently, as President Biden has failed to exercise his constitutional obligation to police the border and protect Americans, now he's undermining his constitution. Protect his citizens, its residents. So Texas has the constitutional authority to take care of the people. The first job of the government is to protect their officers' refusal to comply with the law are driving this border catastrophe. The Biden administration has replaced detain and deport with catch and release. Instead of order, they have chosen for us disorder, and chaos. Rather than securing the homeland, they've ceded the homeland to cartels and traffickers. By the way, at the Del Rio sector alone, in Eagle Pass, Texas, they told us that cartels are estimated, I think they said they're making $2.5 million a day trafficking human beings into the country. Do the math. They're making over $1 billion a year, bringing undocumented children, trafficked children, victims right into the country, and bringing them in. They're doing this intentionally. Shows in disorder and chaos. They've ceded the homeland to the traffickers and the cartels. Homeland security has effectively become a taxi driver. Just let traffickers complete the last few miles of their human smuggling operation, and they're making billions of dollars in the process. It's all absolute madness. Or pending criminal charges. That's right. That means that more than 500,000 known criminals. Catastrophe by design. It's absolutely laughable. No one's falling for this. My counter is this. If President Biden wants us to believe he's serious about protecting our national security, he needs to demonstrate good faith and take immediate action to secure that border. But he won't do it. He needs to immediately stop the mass release of illegals into our country, but he won't do it. If he wants our House Republican Conference to view him as a good faith negotiator, he could start with a stroke of a pen.